Okay. 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 If you've not been to my channel before, my name is Mac. I am an ultramarathon runner. I'm a TikToker. I'm an ex-engineer. I was just in Europe for 2 weeks. This is the story of how I even ended up in Europe, what I did while I was in Europe, and where I'm going next. Where the hell am I now? 4 months ago, in the middle of June, I told my engineering job, I am leaving, I'm so burned out, and if you don't let me go, then I'm going to quit. And so they let me take leave of absence. I was supposed to sign a lease in Los Angeles. Instead, I freaked out. I moved into my Prius. Today's actually the first day of living in my Prius. I don't even have a mattress right now. I was gonna sleep on my backpacking sleeping pad. I went on a road trip to Idaho because I had a race. Go to Idaho, we run this 24-hour adventure race. Let's go ask him.
I'm alive.
He's alive. He's alive but barely breathing. I go backpacking in the Wind River Range with some of my friends. After I'm in the Wind River Range, I'm just hanging out in the Tetons for a week by myself, making content, living life, whatever. Last night I slept at the Jackson Lake Lodge in their employee housing. I don't really think that's allowed. I've got Cinnamon Toast Crunch for breakfast. Maybe I'll be on the mountain for like 10 hours today. After Idaho, I go down to Utah and I run the Spartan, I drop out of the Spartan Ultra. After Utah, I drive my ass to Durango because I'm through hiking the Colorado trails. I was supposed to fly to Denver, but then our flight ended up getting very delayed and then canceled. So me and my friend Alex ended up driving from Durango to Denver in a rental car. Our flight got delayed 4 hours. So Alex and I left the airport because we were like, let's go get dinner while we wait 4 hours for our delayed flight. We get here at 9 p.m. Our flight is supposed to leave at 10:40. Guess who went home? Guess who went home? TSA. The Transportation Security Administration went home. So we can't get on our flight. We stayed at my ex-boyfriend's house for the night. We hiked a Flatiron. It was really, really nice. And then the next day we started the Colorado Trail. I was on the Colorado Trail for an entire month. In that time, it was just misery, laughs. I made some really good friends, lots of thunderstorms. I have a vlog from every single day of that trail on my channel as well, so you can go check that out. After the Colorado Trail, I then flew to Honolulu because I was gonna live in Waikiki for a month. I was living with my best friend Tess, who used to be my landlord in Los Angeles, and then she stopped being my landlord obviously because she sold the house and I moved into my Prius. So this is my 3rd month of my 3-month engineering leave. During this time that I'm in Waikiki, my friend Austin Alexander texts me and he says, hey, will you come do this competition for me for Lenny and Larry's? So they offered to fly me to Los Angeles and then they also offered to fly me back to Honolulu. Before I left Honolulu, I was seeing this guy kind of that I had met while I was on a run and he was in a race and it was really fun, but at the end of it, he did some stuff that was kind of questionable and I was like, I don't want to do this. Instead of coming back to Honolulu, I was like, oh, maybe I should go somewhere else. I go to Los Angeles and when I'm there, that's when I decide to quit my engineering job. So I go into my job for the very last time. I have my last day of work. I clean out my desk, etc. After my exit interview, then I go to the competition.
Nothing less than greatness. I've never seen one of you. You gotta come out on top.
It was really, really fun. I had a good time. It was an obstacle course, which I am a semi-professional obstacle course racer, so that was great. If we hadn't won, I think I would have retired from OCR. 2 days before, I had texted my friend who has free flight benefits and said, hey, do you want to go to Europe? And she said, when? I'm already going this weekend. So then she invited me on her Europe trip. So I have a direct flight to London the day of the competition. However, because there was 3 hours of LA traffic, I missed my flight to London. I ended up staying in town for another day. I go on a really long run because I'm training for a 100-mile race, fly to London the next day, and immediately fly from London to Barcelona because I'm meeting my friend in Spain. I was in Barcelona for 3 days and then I was in Madrid for 3 days. And I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with this Europe trip because I didn't have a return flight and I had 0 plans. My friend Val from the Colorado Trail was in the Dolomites hiking. She had just done Tour du Mont Blanc with her parents. And she told me that Tour du Mont Blanc was just the best time ever. It was gorgeous. It was amazing. She had done it in late August. Keep in mind, in late August, all of the huts are open on the Tour du Mont Blanc. So it's really easy to find accommodations. I'm coming up with this plan of, well, maybe I'll do Tour du Mont Blanc since I'm training for this 100-miler and I can just do it over a couple of days. I book a flight to Geneva and I start looking at huts. I'm looking at huts and there's almost nothing available. There's one hut every like 40 miles that's open. And me being stupid, I was like, this is gonna be a great idea. This is great 100-mile training. I'm just gonna do 3 days of back-to-back 50K plus distances and then a shorter day. I book my huts and it looks like it's gonna be a really fun route, but it's gonna be pretty hard. I get to Chamonix and I check the weather. It says that it's going to be raining and snowing. snowing for the next week. The entire week says it's gonna be raining and snowing. And I'm like, well, what are the odds that it actually rains and snows the entire time, right? What do you think it did? What do you think it did? I start the trail and it's pouring. Water was running down the streets. I had come so unprepared, keep in mind. I had a 12-liter running vest. I had a top and a pair of shorts to sleep in at the huts. I had gummy candy and chocolate bars. I had a 2-liter bladder for water, and that was it. Like, I brought a tripod and a toothbrush, and it was like, okay, let's go run 100 miles in the Alps by myself. So I'm running and I'm having like the time of my life, but also it's tremendously shitty because it's freezing outside. I had to buy a rain jacket and some gloves in Chamonix because, again, I came with nothing. I was wearing shorts and trail runners for this thing. After the first day on trail, I'm like, this kind of sucks, but maybe it'll get better. Second day on trail comes around, it's equally as shitty, and I end up in a snowstorm on top of Grand Col Ferret. I end up having to hitchhike with 3 random Italian men from Refugio Elena to Refugio Monte Bianco, which was where I was supposed to be staying. So they literally hitchhiked me like 18 miles of the trail. Day 1 was 24 miles, day 2 was 20 miles. I was, by the way, the only person to sleep at Refugio Monte Bianco that night. I check in and he says, yeah, you're the only person staying here tonight. They feed me dinner and the employees give me a post-it note with their boss's number and they say, hey, if you have any emergencies, call him, we're all going home. So they literally left me alone in this refuge. I made this TikTok because I feel like I now own this hut because I was the only person staying there. I have one really weird night by myself alone in Refugio Monte Bianco. And by the way, at like 2 in the morning, I heard really weird sounds that definitely sounded like a door opening somewhere. And I know I was awake because I was texting. Stayed in my locked room pretending that it didn't happen. Next morning, I wake up, employees are back. It's beautiful. The sky is sunny. It looks gorgeous. It looks like it's gonna be a really good day for running. The way that I have to start this day is by running uphill 1,000 feet over the course of a mile. My first mile on this 3rd day was literally 1,093 feet in the first mile. I get to Refugio Elisabetta. Refugio Elisabetta is higher altitude and it's right before you start heading into the really high mountain passes on the west side of Mont Blanc because I was doing it opposite of the way everyone else did it. Everyone else was going counterclockwise and I was going clockwise. That meant that my 3rd day was gonna be all the higher mountain passes. So Col de la Seine, Col de la Croix, and then heading into Les Ponts for my camping arrangement that night. I get up to Elisabetta and people start coming down from Col de la Seine and they see what I'm wearing and they're like, you're not going up there. I'm like, I am, what's the problem? And they're like, no, there's freezing icy headwind and it's snowing and the snow on the passes is knee deep. They literally were like, you're the most unprepared person I've ever seen in my entire life, which fair enough, I was freezing and miserable. I definitely do not feel comfortable with the amount of risk I would be assuming continuing over the pass. This is like, frankly, kind of dangerous. And I'm by myself. If I had another person with me, maybe, but this is more risk than I feel comfortable assuming alone. Had to turn around, go back to Courmayeur. It was beautiful, and I'm happy I at least got to see some of the Alps views on the trail because I hadn't gotten to see any views the rest of the time. After Courmayeur, I bussed back to Chamonix, picked up my stuff from my hostel, and then went Chamonix to Geneva, spent the night in Geneva, and then I flew Geneva to Paris. I was meeting my friend Val, who's in the Dolomites, in Paris. I haven't seen Val since the Colorado Trail, so it was so nice just to be around her. Val, how much fun did you have on the hike up here?
So much fun.
She loves it. She actually wants to do it again.
Please no. Now eat, drink, and enjoy a real bed. Thanks for letting me help out.
We went to the catacombs, we went and saw the sparkling Eiffel Tower. 3 guys who were speaking a foreign language were trying to finesse us, but we didn't know any English, so we literally couldn't get finessed. We also went to the Louvre, which was really cool. And then I got home. I flew in on the evening of October 1st. Then the next morning, I woke up at 2:30 in the morning and drove to Arizona because, if you may recall from the beginning of this video, I have no home. I have nowhere to go. I don't have an apartment anywhere. I have no lease. So I am in my childhood home now. Just having a ball, hanging out with my mother. I have a 100-mile race in Phoenix at the end of the month. I'm gonna spend the month training, recovering, getting ready, focusing on content and my life coaching business. That is the tentative plan unless I decide to go on a Prius road trip again. After that, I'm gonna be running a couple races in November. I'm gonna fly to Chicago for High Rocks. I'm also going to be competing at the Spartan races in Arizona. And then I don't know what's next, y'all. I don't know what's next. I might move to Washington and go live with my friend who does mountaineering stuff because I need to learn some winter mountaineering skills. I might move to San Diego. There's just like a lot of a lot of things up in the air. But that's what I've been up to for the last 4 months. That's what I've been up to for the last 2 weeks in Europe. And those are my future plans moving forward. It's gonna be a lot more chaos. There's gonna be a lot of stuff going on. I have a lot of ideas for content and videos I wanna make, but I'm just kind of giving you some background into my life and my choices. Because the choices, they do be questionable, but we are just live, laugh, loving.